Hello everyone. Today we'll be doing a Helldivers 2 stratagem tier list. Um, I'm just going to be doing one for the Terminids at the moment because I feel like there are some stratagems that are better at dealing with Terminids versus dealing with automatons and vice versa. So we'll be focusing on Terminids in this tier list. Um, Looking at the ratings from S down to upset team, the stuff that I'm going to be putting in S tier, I believe, is going to be stuff that is always useful, no matter what difficulty you're at, and no matter what you're doing, what mission type you're on. This stuff is always going to be useful and will be, just something that you'll never be upset to see having on your team or using yourself. And then, moving down, we'll get into stuff that's just good all around, stuff that's usable in everything, stuff that's usable in most missions, but not all, stuff that are rarely ever usable, and then, this. If you pick this stuff, usually your team's going to be upset that you have it. It will likely end up killing your teammates more than you will kill enemies with it. And there's really only a few of these stratagems in the game. And personally, I actually like most of them. They're kind of fun to use, but they will end up killing your teammates. And if you're trying to play the game, more seriously at a higher level, then these stratagems are probably not the best choice, really ever. We're going to go from top down, from start to finish, and we are going to ignore the last three because they don't pertain to effectiveness. You have them on every mission. So, starting off with the regular machine gun, the heavy machine gun. This is a fairly viable weapon, actually, for most things. At higher levels, it's not great unless you're in a party with people who are taking other heavy hitting weapons because it can't deal with armored targets very well. Even it struggles even to deal with hive guard enemies that have medium armor plates on the front. So for that reason, it's going to stick around C. On the early levels, this is a fantastic weapon and will serve you very well. Moving on to the anti-material rifle. This weapon, in the same vein as the machine gun, I might actually place it higher than the machine gun. But in the same vein, in the early levels, this thing rips and tears through bugs. I mean, it's great. You one shot nursing spears if you hit them in the head. The hive guards, you can pin. I think you can blow their legs off and kill them nearly instantly. And for everything in between, they're fantastic as well. But once you begin seeing acid spewers and chargers, this weapon becomes less and less viable. But in addition to this, it is also one of the best weapons for destroying the spore spewer towers, the big mushrooms that create the clouds on the map that make you not be able to see anything. You can destroy those from across the map with this weapon. I mean, it's surprisingly effective. I don't even think it takes a full magazine to do so as well. So keep that in mind whenever you're looking at this weapon. I don't know if I can recommend picking it up first because of another weapon that you get at the same time. Moving on to the next is the Stalwart. Now, the Stalwart I'm going to place in B tier for the simple fact that you can reload this on the move, and it's almost as effective power-wise as the regular LMG. It has the same issues as the regular LMG, except that it's more accurate while moving, allowing you to kite while firing. Um, I really like the Stalwart, but again, can't recommend getting it above the next on the list, which is the disposable anti-tank. This thing is fantastic. It's viable at every stage of the game. It's not the best at every stage of the game just because you can't carry around a bunch of ammo with you, but it has a very low cooldown. It deals a shit ton of damage, strips armor off of enemies that have it, and you can spam this thing. One person having this in their kit going into the game means that everyone will have disposable anti-tanks if you manage to run out of ammo for your other heavy armor killing guns. Is fantastic. This is why you would, hold out on buying the Stalwart or the anti-material rifle, because you can get this thing at the same time, the same level, for around the same price, and it's just head and shoulders better. The recoilless rifle. The recoilless rifle is also fantastic. I would say, personally, I put it below the expendable anti-tank, because it kind of, for it to be really, really effective, you need to have a teammate with a backpack. And most of the time, people are going to be running a different backpack, and you'll have to reload yourself, which means you have to sit still for a long time. And you can't kill chargers in one shot. You're never going to kill a Bile Titan in one shot with this thing. But other than that, it is fantastic. It does the same thing as the expendable anti-tank, except it has more ammo, but you have to reload it, so you can't just go pick up the other one off the ground and shoot immediately. And that's the only reason why I'm placing it slightly lower than the expendable anti-tank. The flamethrower. Okay, I fucking love this thing. It's great, and it actually has a few quirks with it that make it better than it might seem. But I'm gonna be honest, with the Terminids, you really don't want to be up close, like, ever. You want to be keeping distance so that you don't get surrounded and hit by hunters that are going to slow you down and make you get overwhelmed by chargers and soldiers. They're just this thing requires you to be very close. You can shoot the ground to burn it, but you usually will end up burning yourself. Well, sometimes, not usually. You'll end up burning yourself, and you can nearly one-shot yourself with this thing. And just by walking through fire that you've placed on the ground, not even hitting your teammates with this thing. If you hit your teammates, if they don't stem immediately, they're going to get one-shot by it. And the problem that I have with this, if it gets buffed, I'll revisit it, but it's super fun to use. But not even the little bugs walking through your fire get one shot by this thing. They have a little bit of HP left for your teammates to shoot and kill. But just the area of effect that you can damage your teammates with this thing makes it a little painful to see people bring it into the mission. I will say, though, on a side note with this thing, if you are shooting at the front legs of a charger the entire time, you can kill a charger in less than one magazine of this thing. Give or take, maybe I'd say probably about 6 to 8 seconds of firing. If you dodge out of the way of the first charge, you can kill it before it gets a second charge off. Because the leg is the weak point, and this thing entirely ignores armor. Which makes it fantastic for killing chargers. But that is about all that it does very, very well. It deals with hordes of enemies fairly well as well, but again, they don't get one shot from walking through your fire, which is, unfortunate. All right, the autocannon. The autocannon is also fantastic. I'm going to place it above. You know what? I think this thing deserves to be in the top of A tier. It's fantastic. It has a quirky little reload mechanic that lets you reload it faster as long as you're reloading before you reach the halfway point of the magazine. It has a little bit of armor penetration, so you can deal with those heavily armored targets. It has a fast fire rate. You can destroy bug nests with this thing. It has a shitload of ammo. Really, if you have one person in the game with this thing, you'll always have someone with ammo in their secondary weapon or their third weapon. Because it just has so much ammo. It's very useful, and it's very strong as well. I'd say that the autocannon and the dispensable anti-tank or disposable anti-tank are about the same level of strength, but this thing just has so much ammo that I can't put it lower. It's very good. All right, moving on to the railgun. We have our first S tier weapon with this thing. This thing is awesome. Even without enabling unsafe mode, this thing absolutely shreds the piss out of everything it comes across. It can shred the armor off of a charger in one shot. It has 20 ammo that you can carry with it. It kills chargers that you've taken the armor off of the leg in 2 shots. It is absolutely fantastic. It deals good damage to Bile Titans. It one-shots nursing spewers. You know, it can one, and unlike the anti-material rifle, that loses its ability to one-shot acid spewers at higher level, this thing has armor penetration, so it just one-shots them too. It's great. It is fantastic. It is, in my opinion, the best call-in weapon in the game. It is just a jack of all trades, has decent ammo capacity, very good damage, the best armor penetration of any weapon in the game, I believe. And yeah, it's fantastic. Got to be careful though. You can kill yourself with the weapon on unsafe mode. Against the Terminids, I would recommend keeping it on safe mode. It practically does the same job. You might have to dump one more shot into things to kill them, but you don't need unsafe mode. Though if you're good at using unsafe mode and have practice with it, there's certainly no harm in using unsafe mode. So yeah. All right, the spear. This thing, I really like it, but honestly, I'm going to put it in B tier. It's useful, but its usefulness takes a massive hit. Just on the sole reason of, I believe it's bugged out right now. It might be a feature. I haven't gotten a straight answer from anyone on any Discord or anything like that, but I believe it to be a bug. It has trouble locking onto targets about 60 to 80% of the time. You're trying to use this thing, you won't be able to use it because it just refuses to lock on. It will begin locking on, get about halfway, almost all the way sometimes, and then the lock on will fall off. And you'll try to lock on again, and it won't do anything. And again, and it won't do anything. And again, and it won't do anything. When it works, though, this thing is amazing. The spear is fantastic. It is a weapon that I believe, if it is bugged and they fix it, will probably go either to the top of A or into S tier, because it can one-shot chargers. It can two-shot Bile Titans. That's right, two-shot Bile Titans with a gun. You don't even need to use any stratagems. When you bring this thing, you don't need other heavy-hitting stratagems. You can take wave-clear stratagems, and it makes things so simple. It carries around 4 shots, including the one in the magazine, so 3 on the backpack, 1 in the mag. The cooldown, whenever you get the cooldown upgrade for your guns in the ship, is somewhat reliable. Even if you die most of the time, you won't have to run back, or sometimes you won't have to run back and get your spear. But until it gets bug fixed, there really isn't much I can say about it. It also does not work at close range. If you lock on at close range to something and fire, the rocket will just sail right over the enemy and won't try to come back. It just leaves. So until it gets bug fixed, or until I learn that it's not bugged, it will remain in B tier. If it's not bugged and it's just a feature, I'm going to put this thing in the bottom of C tier, because I can't put it in D tier. It's too good for that. But for now, it's going to remain in B tier. Moving on to orbital strikes. I don't have a ton of experience with these, but I do know which ones I've seen be effective and which ones I've seen kill me or just do nothing at all. Beginning with the orbital Gatling strike, this thing's not that useful. It's so not useful that I never see anyone bring it ever. So that should be enough of a count off to it. It doesn't penetrate armor, so you're not dealing with heavy armored targets, and the next orbital strike on the list is much better at dealing with lightly armored targets. The orbital airburst cannon strike. This thing's fantastic. It's great. It does its job very well. If you throw this thing on a bug breach, it will shred everything except for chargers that come out of it. Chargers and above, mind you, as well. And it just, this thing slaps. It's great. Once you get the upgrades for the orbital cannons as well, it gains an extra salvo, which means even more kills coming through. It's a fantastic area denial device. Just if you're questioning what kind of area denial you want and you like the orbital cannons, this thing is your go-to. Okay, I think this is the 110 or 120 millimeter barrage. You're not going to kill your teammates with this, but it's trash. This thing is garbage. I mean, there was a mission, a major order, a week and a half ago, where you were required to kill 65 things with this. We had a full team of people using this thing, and it took us like 4 missions to kill 65 things with this. It has like a 2-minute cooldown. You might kill 3 things with it. It's just so unbelievably inaccurate. It rarely ever hits the middle of where you call in the strike. If you're lucky and manage to hit something with it, it might not even kill it because of damage fall off on the orbital cannons. Yes, this problem is somewhat fixed once you get the orbital cannon upgrades, but even then, there's just better options. If you really enjoy it, by all means, use it, but there's just no reason to use this thing. It's just awful. All right, the 380 millimeter barrage. This thing has the same issue as the 110/120. I don't remember the exact millimeter of this armament, but this thing is more fun to use in my opinion, and you can actually destroy bases with it, which is nice. If you chuck this thing on a bug hive, you'll probably kill 2 or 3 of the holes. Just make sure your teammates know you're using it. I'm tempted to put it in upset team, but it's not as prone to killing people as some of the other stratagems in this tier list. All right, the orbital walking barrage. Of all the orbital strikes that are, indiscriminate, non-targeted, this thing, in all honesty, is better than the rest. I'm going to put it in B tier because I've seen this thing put in massive amounts of work. But I think I'm thinking of automatons. I might move it down and just place it above the other orbitals. I still think it's worse than the anti-material rifle and the LMG. It's usable, but this is really for automatons, I think, because they like to shoot you from really far away, whereas the Tyranids the Terminids just run at you. So there's not a whole lot of use, as this thing hits very close to you at first and then starts moving away. There will be Terminids that just walk through it, so it's not fantastic. Though it can kill armored targets, it doesn't deal that much damage to them. On the other hand, this gigantic area denial device that just shreds everything in front of it is, in my opinion, much better. All right, the orbital laser cannon. This thing is pretty good. It only has 3 uses over the course of the game. I think I'm going to put it in B tier. Though I would say that this has mobility to move up. But it only has 3 uses over the course of the mission. It really should only be used for Bile Titans and Chargers. In all honesty, it should only be used for Bile Titans defending a nest. There are other stratagems that are better at doing what this thing does. It's really cool. I really like it, but it's not the best stratagem in the game. So on a tier list, we're going to put it in B tier. The Orbital Rail Cannon Strike. It is the better version of the orbital laser, in my opinion. The orbital laser, for each use, it might kill more than one thing, but the orbital rail cannon strike it's just great. It doesn't one-shot Bile Titans, but it one-shots everything else. You get use of this thing every couple of minutes. So whenever a charger pops out, you just toss this thing down, forget about the charger, it's already dead. For that reason, it goes in A tier. It's fantastic for dealing with chargers. And chargers are the most annoying enemy that the Terminids have, by far. All right, moving on to the Eagle Strikes. These are my favorite stratagems. I might be a little biased towards them, but we'll go into more depth on each of them. But I think most of these are going to be above C tier because they are all very useful. You get multiple uses. They kill tons of stuff. They're massive AoE. They have a lot of utility. Their cooldown's really low. It's just great. Starting off with the strafing run. This is, I think, better than a lot of people give it credit for. I'm gonna put it higher than the stalwart. It is a light armor killer, but it does its job very well. It has a very fast call-in time. It has a 1 second call-in time. Most stratagems have an 8 second call-in time, like a 5 to 8 second call-in time. Some of them have 4 and 5. This thing has a 1 second call-in time. It says 0, I believe, in the data, but it takes a second to call in, so don't expect it to hit instantaneously. But there is a modifier at higher levels of play called complex stratagem planning that causes your stratagems to double call-in time. It is extremely painful whenever you call in your stratagems and the bugs or automatons just run straight past them and they come in and hit nothing, right? The strafing run doesn't have that problem, even at higher levels of play. It only has a 2 second call-in time. Chuck this thing at your feet and run away, and it will shred everything chasing you, with exception to things like chargers and Bile Titans, obviously. But it is a fantastic oh shit and run stratagem. I've killed teammates with it before. It doesn't kill them often because it's in a line from where from where you throw it, and that's nice. But it's definitely very useful. Then we're going to the Eagle Airstrike. This is, in my opinion, another S tier stratagem. This thing is fantastic. It kills bug nests. It kills chargers. It can kill Bile Titans. It can kill anything you want it to kill, it could kill. It's got 2 or 3 uses, I believe. And whenever you get the Eagle Strikecraft upgrade, its usage increases. It has like an 8 second cooldown from whenever you use it. The call-in time's not that long. It's got like a 4 or 5 second call-in time. This is it's a fantastic stratagem. It deals with anything you want it to deal with. There's no type of enemy that it doesn't just, kill, right? It deals with armor. It's got a massive AoE, so it kills the little guys too. It's very useful. I would pick this up as soon as you're, able to. It's a very, very good stratagem. Moving on to the Cluster Strike. Another S tier stratagem. This is the king of killing small enemies. Whereas the Airburst Orbital Cannon continuously kills things coming out of bug breaches. If you are just getting swarmed by shit and you manage to make a little bit of distance, drop this thing behind you and you'll get 20 plus kills every time. It has a short call-in time, I believe 3 seconds. So even on those higher difficulties, it will still land within a reasonable amount of time, whereas the Airburst Strike, I think, has a 6, 7, or 8 second call-in time. This thing is fantastic. It's great. It is a team killing machine, though. But you will likely see other people running this as well. You just need to get used to its area of effect. It has a horizontal area of effect, so whenever you throw it, it will hit perpendicular to your line of sight. Other than that, this thing's great. Something else I might have forgotten to mention about the Eagle Strikes. They come in directionally, so walls and stuff can block them, which is not a problem that you have with orbital cannon strikes. But it's not that big of an issue, so long as you know the direction that each of these Eagle Strikes come in at. You can usually negate this bad this bad trait that they have, but it's really not that big of a deal whenever you get to using them. The Napalm Strike, I really like the Napalm Strike. I'm going to put it above the Strafing Run. Well, if I could do that, there we go. above the strafing run, it is basically the Eagle version of the airburst orbital cannon. It is area denial. It applies the same burning ground effect that the flamethrower does, except I believe it deals more damage to the Terminids and less damage to teammates, because you can hit your teammates with this, and most of the time they won't die instantly. So long as they have stim on them, they'll be able to stim up and live through it. And because of its lack of friendly fire, I'm placing it higher than I would otherwise, because it's not super damaging. It's not the best stratagem in the game or anything, but it you don't have the same problem that you do with other offensive stratagems where you're probably going to kill your teammates with it. All right, moving on to the jetpack. This is in the Eagle area of the stratagem list, but it's just a backpack. It doesn't really offer too much. I'm going to put it ahead of the 380 millimeter strike, because this is where things start getting choppy, bad, kind of nasty. You know what? Honestly, I think these are deserving of D tier. They're better than this, but still not great. This is not super useful. It's great for getting away from bugs that have caught up to you. It does not remove slowing effects, so just because you decide you want to fly away doesn't mean you're actually going to make it that far. It's a jump pack. It's not a jet pack, so you just kind of jump a little bit higher. It can let you get into some really cheesy spots, especially on extract. You can get on top of some of the rocks, and the Terminid AI really don't know how to deal with that, so sometimes it's really nice, but overall it's not a great stratagem. I'm actually probably going to put it in the top of C tier, just because I think it's better than most of these in terms of usability. It's pretty decent. The smoke strike. Okay, this is only for automatons, so if you bring it for Terminids, you're going to have an upset team. It is only useful at this point in the game for dealing with automatons. It doesn't really do anything else. If you're trying to be stealthy, dropping a fucking airplane strike on Terminids, they just run into the smoke and then they spot you anyway. It has no use against the Terminids, so it's going in upset team. The Eagle rocket strike. I like this, but it's not great. I am going to put it above the stalwart. It's really good if you're accurate at throwing your stratagems. You need to land your stratagem on the top of your target for this thing to really put in the work. Even if it's close by, sometimes it will hit the target you're shooting at, but half the time it won't. If you land your stratagem on top of the target you're shooting at, it is basically like firing 3 recoilless rifle shots directly onto it. It's really good. If you land it on a Bile Titan, you can kill it in 1, maybe 2 stratagem uses, but you're very unlikely to land it on the Bile Titan because its legs move around a lot, and you're probably going to bounce it off the legs or the head of the Bile Titan. It's pretty good. It's decent for dealing with chargers if they're not in the middle of charging. But it's a fairly decent stratagem. I wouldn't say this thing is the best. You shouldn't rush to be getting this. It's not the best stratagem in the game, but it's certainly good. The 500 kilogram bomb. This thing reigns supreme. It is fucking awesome. It one-shots Bile Titans with a well-placed one. Once you get the upgrade, you get 2 of them on an 8-second cooldown. It is disgusting. The only thing that I would warn people about is this thing does not destroy nests like you think it would. When you get this thing and you see it, you're like, oh man, I can just chuck this thing into a nest and it'll blow everything up. The blast radius on this thing is deceptively small. The damage fall off is also very harsh. That's why when I say you need to place your strike well, you really do. It is the king of killing Bile Titans. The only thing that is more efficient is the spear, and most of the time the spear doesn't work. So, you know, but I mean, it's fantastic. If you manage to hit chargers with it, it will annihilate them. It's really fucking funny when it doesn't work right and hits very close to you. So even if you're killing your teammates with it, most of the time it's just laughs. It's fantastic. As soon as you can pick up the 500 kilogram bomb, do it. I believe it's at level 15. And, I mean, everyone sees this thing in the stratagem list and is already trying to pick it up anyway. But it really deserves the title as king of the Eagle Airstrikes. All right, moving on to the bridge section, I believe. The Precision Strike, it's unlocked in base kit, and it's actually not bad. It's just decent. You could use it everywhere. You know what? I'm going to put it above the jetpack. I'm going to put it in B tier. It's useful. It's not terrible. That's it. It's not super great. It doesn't one-shot everything, but, it'll kill chargers if you manage to hit them with it. It's your original strike, so it's pretty decent. Gas Strike. Gas Strike is, in my opinion, worse than the Walking Barrage. It's not great. It's not this bad. But it can put in some work. It's not great. It has a decently long call-in time. The funniest thing I've seen people do with it is make the escape ship fart whenever you leave. It's pretty funny. But other than that, it's not fantastic. The Orbital EMS Strike. This thing is fucking great. I don't use it very often, but it is a fantastic stratagem. It will stun chargers in their path. It makes Bile Titans stop moving. It is a combo stratagem. You call this thing in, and then you call in an Eagle Airstrike on whatever you're trying to do to kill, right? It stuns things. It will stun your teammates too. It will stun you as well, so don't walk into it. But it is a very good stratagem, and it has a lot of uses. So keep that in mind whenever you're looking at stuff to pick up. It doesn't kill things, so a lot of people don't like picking it up. But it is very good at what it does, and at higher levels of play, I would even bump it up to S tier. But because this is more holistic, we're going to put it in A tier because it's not useful in every single mission type. Moving on to the smoke screen. It is worse than the Eagle smoke screen. And for almost said Tyranids again, for Terminids, it is completely useless, and it is worse than the Eagle Smoke Strike. This is the one you want. You want this one. It is much better. You get multiple uses. It has a larger area of effect. It is just better. HMG placement. All right. When I first saw this thing, I really didn't think much of it. I didn't get it until later on in my tenureship in the game. But, and now we're moving on to emplacements as well. But this thing is great, dude. Oh my god. When I started using this thing, I really enjoyed it. It kills medium armor bugs. You can kill hive guards with this thing in, a second to 2 seconds. Its time to kill is fantastic. 1 bullet for little bugs, 1 bullet for hunters, those annoying little pissers with the wings. A couple bullets for the regular, infantry bugs. The front armor bugs, it kills them too, straight through the skull. Fantastic. I'm going to put it in the bottom of A tier. It has a low cooldown. This thing is really nice. I like it. Energy Shield, upset team. Not because it's not a good stratagem, it's just kind of useless for Terminids. It puts a dome around you and blocks bullets. Yeah, bullets. That's right, you heard me. Bullets. What Terminids shoot bullets? None of them. There's one mortar strike, but it's a gas strike. It doesn't care. It might block Bile Titan acid as well, but, that's just so situational. Until you are in, hell dive, suicide mission, and impossible level missions, you won't have the instantaneous emplacement call in, so it's not going to be useful versus Terminids. But it is quite useful against automatons. Keep in mind that these are only down here, except with the exception of the flamethrower. These are only down here because we're talking about Terminids and not automatons. Against automatons, all of these shoot up to A, B tier stratagems. They're very good, just not against Terminids. Moving on to the Tesla Tower. It's better than the smoke strikes because it actually kills things, but it will kill your teammates. And honestly, I love the Tesla Tower. It's fucking hilarious, but it really is just a team killing machine. Chargers will, run into it and break it. It doesn't have that much HP, even with the upgrade to the emplacement HP. It doesn't have that much HP, so it's going to go an upset team. You're not going to get a whole lot of use out of this thing until you get instantaneous emplacement call-in as well and the health upgrade. It's really funny. If you pick it up, you'll understand what I mean. I love it, but it's really not meta. Use it. It's fun, but it's not meta. So I'm going to put it down here for the fact that it usually kills your teammates. Landmines. Landmines are actually pretty good if you communicate with your team, but that's the issue. Even when you communicate with your team, I'm going to place it kind of in the middle of C tier because it's not so bad as upset team, though it really could be placed down here. I'd place it in the top. Actually, we're going to put it in the top of upset team. I think the stratagems in here are either useless or kill your teammates more often than not. They're still better than these. Like, all of them are better than these. These suck. They're terrible. So, there's that. But it can kill things. It's great for defending points, but it will kill your teammates. Be sure to tell them that it's there. They'll probably kill themselves anyways. Don't overuse it. Don't put it in places you're going to have to run. This is something that you drop right behind you as soon as a bug breach happens, that sort of thing, or whenever you're chilling at extract and you see enemies approaching from a direction, you can yeet this thing in that direction. It's decent. It's not the best stratagem in the game, but it puts in a little work. Supply pack's great. We're gonna put the supply pack right behind the recoilless rifle. The supply pack's fantastic. One person with a supply pack means you don't have to worry about running out of ammo. This thing makes it incredibly effective when working with a team for one group of people to call in a supply pack, pair up, and run off, and then the other group who doesn't have a supply pack takes a backpack weapon like a spear or a recoilless rifle or an autocannon, and they just run the other direction, do the other objectives, and they're the ones who get to use the resupply, while the resupply backpack is used to sustain the other group. This thing is really, really good. I recommend this be the first stratagem you pick up whenever you unlock it. I believe it is better than the disposable anti-tank for purposes of just stuff that you need to pick up whenever you're a newer player. It's invaluable. It's very good. If you have this thing equipped, everyone will love you. They'll follow you around and kiss your toes for ammo. It's great. Grenade launcher. The grenade launcher is really good. I'm going to put it in the top of B tier. The reason why I don't put it in A tier is because the weapons in this tier are way, way too good. I'd say that it is a contender for A tier. It's either bottom of A tier, top of B tier. But because of its ridiculous time to kill against heavily armored targets, I have to put it in B tier. It's great for clearing out groups of enemies. It can kill chargers. It will two-shot nursing spewers and bile spewers. It's pretty good, but it's not great. It has somewhat limited ammo capacity, though if you carry around a supply backpack with this thing, you practically have infinite ammo. And used in combination, I would put these two in S tier if you're using them in a combo. But they as standalones against the Terminids, they're not great. Well, they are great. Both of them are very good. But they're not, they're not the railgun, the 500 kilogram bomb, the Eagle Strike, the cluster bomb. They're not, those. Laser cannon. This thing's alright. It ain't terrible. I'm gonna put it above the spear because the spear actually it goes below the. We'll put it in the top of C tier. It's not fantastic. It could use some buffing maybe. It has infinite ammo, which is an upside, but it really doesn't deal with the targets you would want it to deal with. It has a long time to kill. Really, it has the same issue as the grenade launcher, except the grenade launcher will actually deal decent damage to heavily armored targets. This thing is not fantastic, but it's usable. It's better than the anti-material rifle for some purposes. Actually, I don't know. I kind of like the anti-material rifle more. I do like it more than the regular LMG, though. So I'm going to place it right in between these two. Actually, I'm going to move the mines down below the anti-material. I really like this thing for killing nursing spewers. There are a lot of missions that nursing spewers are the main enemy you'll be facing. There will be a ton of them. And this thing is better at killing nursing spewers than the rail cannon. Or not the rail cannon, the rail gun. So it's very useful. Probably better than C, but I'm going to leave it here because it really doesn't have use outside of killing nursing spewers. Incendiary mines, better than the other mines, but not great. It will still kill your teammates, and it really doesn't do that much damage outside of killing your teammates. All right, the two guard dogs, the guard dog rover and the regular guard dog, they're both about the same. The regular guard dog, in my opinion, is better than the guard dog rover. They're both decent. Probably better than the stalwart, but they take up a backpack slot, which means that there are other better options. The regular ammo one, not the rover, the regular ammo one is better than the rover. The rover is okay. It deals decent damage, but this thing will actually protect you. The way I view this thing is if you're running something like a recoilless rifle or an autocannon, what you want to do is have your teammate pick up the recoilless rifle, autocannon, or spear backpack. You pick up your guard dog, and now you have a fast reloading heavy weapon with a primary weapon guard dog flying around you, killing the little guys who get too close. They're pretty decent, that's why they're in B tier. They're usable. They're not bad per se. They have use in pretty much every difficulty, but they're not so good that you want to bring them every single time. Whenever you unlock them, they're probably some of the best backpacks you can bring, though. They offer, an extra gun. That's great. So we're going to put them in the middle of B tier. Arc Thrower. Boom. Upset team. This thing is a team-killing monster and really doesn't deal that much damage. I have a teammate who loves this thing. It is really fun to use, and it's very satisfying to zap the shit out of things. But goddamn, I am so tired of getting zapped whenever I'm running away from chargers. Whenever they shoot the charger, and then it arcs directly to me and kills me in one shot. Whenever I'm running away from the charger. It's fun. It's a fun weapon. It's not awful in terms of usability. It's still better than these things here, but it is definitely a team-killing machine. It is in the same vein as the flamethrower, fun to use, but it's more likely to kill your teammates than the flamethrower. Of everything in here that kills teammates, this is the one that is least likely to kill your teammates, while the arc thrower is probably the most likely next to the Tesla Tower. Who would have guessed the two electric things that just randomly zap shit kill your teammates a lot? Crazy, right? Alright, moving on. The best stratagem in the game is the shield generator backpack. This thing is fucking incredible. It is the best stratagem in the game. By far. Nothing even comes close to it. The only reason you wouldn't want to run this thing is if you're running another backpack ammo stratagem. And you don't have someone else to pick it up for you. This thing At first, I thought it was only good against the automatons. Then I accidentally brought it into a game against Terminids and realized that it can block charger charges. That's right, you heard me. It will completely block a charger charge. You won't even get knocked down. You know how sometimes you run around the side of a charger and it still flicks you with its leg and sends you flying? That shit don't happen no more. This thing is great. It prevents hunters from, making you get one shot. It makes stalker fling attacks not happen. It's just really fucking good. It is the best stratagem in the game. There is not one that is better. If it gets nerfed, that might change, or if other things get buffed, it might change, but as it stands, it is the best stratagem in the game. At level 20, this should be the first thing you pick up. Followed by the railgun, of course. Excuse me. Moving on to the sentries. Alright, the original sentry gun. This thing's alright. It's not bad. Honestly, I'm going to put it in the top of C tier. It is better than the jetpack, in my opinion. It shoots. It shoots. Yeah, that's about it. It can kill your teammates. It can kill you. It's really funny when it does. But you know what's funnier? When the Gatling gun does it. This thing, I am going to put... Oh, man. I'm going to put this below the regular guard dog, above the guard dog rover. This thing shreds little enemies. It absolutely obliterates bug breaches at lower levels. At higher levels, it's great for defending a point. It will shred the crap out of anything that isn't a charger or higher armor rating. It's pretty good. When it kills your teammates, it's super funny because it just like turns towards the enemies. You see your teammates standing there. It winds up and then just shits bullets out and kills them. I've seen some really funny videos with this thing. But it's very good. The Mortar Sentry. This thing is great. Of all the sentry guns, I'd say this one's probably the best one for a specific reason. Which is why I might not put it in A tier. I think I'm going to put this thing in the top of B tier. For the sole reason that this thing, against Terminids, is going to kill your teammates. It will happen, because what ends up happening is you place this thing down, your teammates, you place it down outside of a bug nest or something, right? Your teammates are going to go into the bug nest and try and blow it up. Well, the mortar gun is firing at all the enemies that are chasing your teammates around at melee range. And then your mortar is going to hit your teammates and kill them. On defense missions, this thing is unparalleled. It's fantastic for that. It's very good. It will begin firing before you even see your opponent, your enemies, which makes it also very good. It doesn't have to have line of sight like the Gatling Sentry, the machine gun emplacement, or the other sentry gun, which makes it's very nice. This thing is pretty good. I'm placing it below the machine gun emplacement because the machine gun emplacement is super fun to use. Really, guys, I really like this thing. It's very good. Moving on to the next... Wait, what is this one? Oh, no, this is the ballistic shield. Okay, well, I messed that up. This is the guard dog rover. This is the ballistic shield. Okay, we talked about the, or not rover, this is the guard dog. The regular guard dog, right here. This is very good. Yes, we've already talked about it. The ballistic shield. I mistook this for the guard dog. The ballistic shield's alright. Honestly, there's no reason for you to use this thing. You might think, oh, against the automatons, it'll be good. Yes and no. It takes up a backpack slot, right? Where, in 5 levels, you'll have this thing. You already have the supply backpack. You already have the recoilless rifle and the autocannon unlocked, right? So by the time you have this thing, you have better options for your backpack. It's still not as bad as these things. It's useful, just not that useful. You can use your secondary weapon while using this thing, and you can use the SMG. When paired with the SMG, it's actually not that bad. I'd probably put it below the jetpack. So yeah, that's where this thing goes for now. Excuse me. Um, it's very good against automatons, but it can block attacks from Terminids. It's really inconsistent. Honestly, we're gonna put against Terminids. It is this bad. It is not great. Don't bring this thing against Terminids. Um, if you get hit with a hard enough hit as well against automatons, it breaks. So it's really not that good. It deserves, I think, this placement. Moving on to the rest of the turrets. All right, we got the autocannon turret. I like the autocannon turret. I'm going to put it above the Eagle Strikes for this tier. It is a 3-round burst turret that has a dead zone range. What this means is it hits enemies that are very far away, but enemies that get too close, it can't target anymore. At least in my experience, it doesn't like targeting enemies that are too close to it. So it doesn't defend itself. I've been killed by this thing before when my teammates use it and it's shooting at chargers that I'm close to. It decimates chargers. It does its job in that department very well, but it has the same problem as the Tesla Tower, where it would be more useful, except enemies that get too close to it will one-shot it. Chargers will prioritize targeting sentry guns. I've noticed this over the course of playing against Terminids, that the chargers will ignore you to kill your sentry guns. And they just one-shot them, even with the upgraded HP pool. This thing is decent, but not fantastic. But it is good. It is worth picking up and worth using and trying out to see if you really love it. The Rocket Sentry, better than the grenade launcher. It's about the same level of efficiency as the mortar cannon. It's really good. It does the same thing that the autocannon sentry does, except it fires faster. It has a shorter range, and it will likely use all of its ammo up before the charger can get to it. It's pretty good. I haven't had any problems with this thing killing me. If you're standing close to it and it's firing in the opposite direction of you, it will knock you over, just like just like the recoilless rifle and the disposable anti-tank. It will knock you over if you're standing behind it. But other than that, it's pretty good. And the last stratagem, the EMS Mortar Strike. Or not Mortar Strike, the EMS Mortar Sentry. I really like this thing. I think it's about the same as the regular mortar, but in my opinion, it's a little bit better. It's more utility focused, and in higher levels, this thing will put in a lot of work stalling out enemies trying to make their way to you. Whereas this just kills things outright, this severely hampers their ability to move. It is good for the same reason as the EMS Strike, though this EMS Strike is a little more on demand than the EMS Mortar and has a much larger area of effect. This thing is pretty dang good. I should probably move this thing down. I might have overhyped it a little bit. It's not the best thing in the game. I'll move it below the supply pack, but this is just as good as the orbital EMS Strike. Probably a little worse because of its short range of effect, short area of effect. It's got a long range, but the area of effect that it has is somewhat less than desirable. It has decent amount of ammo. It's got the same problem as the other sentries. It doesn't defend itself very well and gets one shot by chargers. But the good thing about this is that things are going to be struggling to make it close to the mortar. And, that's pretty great. So, yeah, that just about concludes this tier list. If you play much Helldivers and want to leave a comment about what you think, if I've placed any of these things incorrectly, or just whatever your opinions on these stratagems are. Um, Feel free to leave a comment down below. Yeah, so this should conclude the tier list. Okay, I have made a slight revision. You'll notice that the Eagle Smoke Strike, the Orbital Smoke Strike, and the Bubble Shield have been moved out of Upset Team into D tier. It's because I made a slight mistake, and when reviewing the footage, I realized this. They aren't going to upset your team. They don't kill your teammates. They just aren't very useful against the Terminids. So I've moved them into D tier and put them below the 120 millimeter or whatever this one is, the smaller millimeter barrage. Even though this thing really deserves to be over here, this thing is awful. It actually has a use, unlike these three, and probably this one is slightly more useful than these two because it can actually probably block acid spit or something like that. But these are just not very useful. So I'd avoid taking them on Terminid missions and probably wouldn't buy them until later in the game whenever you have to do defense missions against automatons. So yeah, that should just about cover everything. Thanks for watching to this point, and have a nice day.